let's roll it. Is it rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good morning. How is everyone doing?
Great.
Thank you so much for coming. I just wanted to do a quick little presentation just to tell you what I had in mind for next year, and then as I go through, just raise your hand if you have any questions. I'll just take questions as we go. So as soon as one pops into your head, just ask it. So first of all, I know that this is kind of new for everyone. So now that you've seen the concert and all of the kids did such a great job, I'm so happy with it. I wanted to explain a little bit about how we teach, which uses the Suzuki method. But really, it's just whatever method we feel is going to suit your children at whatever time. But that's kind of the foundation of what we use, because I'm Suzuki trained, and I also have 20 years of teaching experience. So, and Mr. P as well, like he has about 20 years of teaching experience, and also is Suzuki trained. Now, pretty much any way you learn the violin will get you to the end point that you want to get to. The Suzuki method is basically a method where we're teaching your child how to play an instrument the way they learn their mother tongue language. So that's something that every child can do. Every child, when placed in their home environment, learns how to speak the language that you hear at home. And so that's kind of what we're doing with the music, is we're trying to put them in an environment where they're exposed, where they're listening to it, where it's kind of just natural that they're going to learn the instrument. Of course, that takes some help at home, playing music at home, and that's why I send all those video recordings, listening to the music. A more traditional approach would be, don't listen to the music at first. Read the music, learn how to read it, and then approach the music part. We do it the opposite. So we teach them the music part, they learn how to play the instrument, and then we teach them how to read. The reading is actually the easy part. I would much rather get a student that had, musicality and loved the instrument before, just somebody that can read a bunch of notes. Because I can teach that in about 5 minutes. And we will teach that. But we don't want to teach that too soon, before they love the music and before they can play their instrument and have nice, posture and feel very balanced and free without having this music stand, which I can guarantee you'll see it as soon as we introduce the music stand. This. And so, that's what we're trying to avoid right away. We're just trying to get a nice setup before we do that. So a few things about the Suzuki method. They really are large proponents of starting at a young age, and that's because the brain development that happens, like when you're learning a language, always better to learn when you're young, right? When you try to learn when you're an adult, it's not the same, because the connections need to be fostered early. So that's why, I start teaching private lessons sometimes when they're as young as 2. If somebody brings me a 2-year-old, I'll teach them, and it goes a lot slower. So like for the pre-K, kindergartners, the learning is a lot slower, but it actually really solidifies very well, like 2 years into it. And you'll see, wow, like some large leap happened, and you had no idea why. You think like we did something different that week. No, it just, your child was ready and something happened, and all the things they've been learning these past 2 years, now it clicked, and now they can play really well. So you'll see that if you haven't already seen that. I know, everyone is in a different stage here. So listening is key. So if you have the recordings at home, play them. You should all probably get the Suzuki Book 1, because it has at least the MP3s that go with it, and then play those, because those are a lot of the pieces that we do. We don't do all of the Suzuki pieces, but we do a lot of those pieces, and it's just a nice recording that you can play from beginning to end, whether we do the piece or not. They're listening and they're getting that in their ear, and that makes a huge difference. The students, I find, that listen at home go not like twice as fast, but they go like 5 times faster on average. So also getting well-trained teachers. So if you're going to go get a private teacher, talk to me first, because getting someone that's well-trained, not just good at playing the violin or playing the cello, is really key, because teaching a little kid how to play an instrument is very different than knowing how to play the instrument. So also, I talked about learning to play the instrument before learning to read. We will learn to read. A lot of your children already know how to read a little bit from music class, because I do teach everyone how to clap rhythms, and I do teach them the lines and the spaces. We just haven't put it together yet. They don't know on the violin, which note is which on the staff. But once I do that, they will be ready to go and read music. Usually, the best combination of learning is one private lesson and one group lesson. I'm not making private lessons mandatory. I never will, because I actually never took private lessons till I was 20. I started in a school program, and I continued playing in orchestra all the way through high school, and then I decided I wanted to go into music when I was 20. And so I went and I took lessons at that point. But it was okay for me to not take private lessons and just to go through the school program. That is the program I am trying to create for you. Is it the best for everybody? Absolutely not. Most people really will benefit from private lessons. And a lot of students will really need private lessons to keep up with the advanced group. But is it something that I'm going to make mandatory? Absolutely not, because if your child does not want to take private lessons, like I didn't, you can be in this group and they can, do just as well as anyone else if they're willing to put in the work, most of the time. So, also, something that's a little different about Suzuki Method is that review of the old pieces is actually how you build the technique, not learning new pieces. Learning new pieces is just learning notes. You can learn notes all day. But really what we're trying to create is well-rounded musicians that can create a beautiful sound, that can have some musicality, that can, make some really nice musical choices like dynamics and phrasing and express their emotions. That is not going to happen on the new pieces. That is always happening on the old pieces. And it only happens on the old pieces when you come back to those old pieces 5, 10, 20, 100 times and perform them that many times. You'll see that the twinkle really changes from beginning to end, from book 0 to book 10. I'll say book 10 because Suzuki has 10 books. Are there really only 10 books? No, music goes on forever. We can have as much repertoire as we want. Both Mr. P and I can teach way past book 10. We have private students that have gone, from basically book 0, like beginner, age 3, to way beyond book 10. So we can take students all the way. Whoever we have to teach, we will teach them. So also, Suzuki Method really, it's crucial to have the parent involvement and the support. Now, I know that we don't have you in classes every week. That's okay. We have modified it so that we don't need you every week. We send home videos. We teach your kids how to watch the videos and practice and what they need to do. And so that's okay. If you don't ever pick up that violin in between during the week when you're just starting out because you have no idea what you're supposed to do with it, that is okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's probably more damaging when you have a pre-K student, you try to get the violin out and say, practice, like you must practice every day and shove it in their, face, they will quit. So let's try not to do that, but at the same time, the parents can be very motivating and supportive and encouraging and loving, and they can say, oh, can you teach me how to play this instrument? I have no idea what I'm doing. But just to be there and to show up to the recitals, and if you want to come to the classes, really that's great. Once your child is kind of playing a lot of pieces, that's when the practicing becomes more important, just because it's harder. And that's when they actually know how to practice by themselves. So you don't really have to know anything. You can just be like, oh, can I hear your pieces? And that's enough. That's enough for right now. Okay, so that's an overview. So who should join this string program? We take obviously beginners. That's where most everyone has started.
is the complete beginner level. We will teach you how to hold it, how to play it, and all the way to the serious students. The serious students, I think, sometimes we think as parents like, oh, is my child going to outgrow this program? Or is this, class going to be too easy for them? And the reality is, it really will never become too easy, because the way music works is we can always make harder parts. So, for example, in our first year that I started here, we were all just trying to learn the melody parts. And we probably got through, let's say, the first half of Suzuki Book 1 with some of the kids. And we were all playing the melody, and we were all playing the same part. That's, the very basic level. This year, those same kids that were playing those pieces, the melody, we have now added the harmony into it. Now, not only is the piece more difficult, it uses more notes, it uses different keys that are more complicated. It also is harder to play the harmony part, because it's not the part that you would just normally sing. When you say, "Sing me Twinkle," you're not going to sing the harmony part. So it's actually harder for them to remember the part and to understand how to fit together into the melody. So I can always make harder harmony parts. I have like whole stashes of repertoire, and we have not even touched just like the first layer of it. So I always will make it as hard as we need it. It's not really about making it hard though. The group classes should not be like difficult. The group classes should be about playing together and enjoying music, and about really making good quality music, about having really great sound, really great intonation. That means that like their fingers are falling exactly in the right place, which you probably have heard a lot of out of tune playing before at home, if your child is using fingers. But so these like techniques, this is what we're improving upon. When they're ready, we add things like vibrato, shifting. If you don't know what those are, that's okay. We'll get there. So like I said, we will my vision of this group, like let's say our current first graders, we have a lot of first graders. Let's say our current first graders are in 6th grade. I'm hoping that we're playing, let's say, book 5, 6 material by then. Will we get to book 10? Probably not. That's okay, because there's a lot more years after this. And if we do get to book 10, that's great. We will do that. If just a few get to book 10, we'll have just a few there, and we'll go all the way down. So like all of the concerts will be from our most advanced students down to the very beginners, and everyone will play together to get that experience. Okay. Any questions so far? So now we just get to the nitty-gritty, like what are we doing next year? These are the things that we did this year, and I anticipate that we'll do them again next year. So we had a group that played the pep rally in September. We also had a group go to Disneyland, and that process actually started in October, or before October, where we had to get them ready to audition with a tape. So we videoed them in October. Grandparents' Day was in November. We had a group play there. Veterans Day, we played the Star Spangled Banner at the Veterans Day 5th grade assembly. We had holiday caroling at the pancake breakfast in December. World Language Week, we played in March. The Disney performance that we actually went to Disneyland and played there was in March. And then we did a couple of school assemblies where that's just that's really the best performance, because all their peers are here watching them, and they are so proud of themselves when they see all their friends watching them. One night only we had in April, and then the enrichment concert we just had in May. So I anticipate we'll probably have a similar thing, next year. Okay, so what is new this year with our classes? We actually added a full day of classes because we are growing so fast. We were a little bit cramped as far as having so many kids at the same time. We want to add a few new groups so that our levels are spread out a little bit more, and that we can target the needs of everybody. So we're offering now Mondays and Thursday classes, and I'll tell you, the exact ones. So on Monday, I have basically put all of the students that are in like the performing groups. The performing groups will be our chamber ensemble and this new group called Violin Virtuosi. Because the chamber ensemble is getting very big, we will be taking the chamber ensemble students, the most advanced ones, you know, into let's say book 3 and book 4 next year, whereas a lot of those students that are getting into book 1, they're ready to perform, but they're not ready to really sit in a class at book 3 level, and that's not really good for them, because if they're sitting there not doing anything, that's not, it's actually okay for a little bit, and I do try to have a mixture and a balance of a student being in a class where they're listening some and participating some, and then as they get to be the more advanced student in that class, they're participating most, right? And the other students coming in are listening. But you can't imagine how quickly the learning goes when we have that balance. Because we allow, let's say, a student to come in and sit in at the chamber ensemble rehearsal, and maybe they're just really on the verge of being able to do it. By 3 weeks into it, they know all the songs. Why? The Suzuki method, because they've been listening to it. They're motivated, they're encouraged, they want to do it, and they go home and they learn it. So there is nothing wrong with us including anyone who is wanting to do it, and who is like on the verge of being ready. We will include them. So the chamber ensemble is going to be Monday, 3:30. This is going to be our most dedicated and advanced students. Most likely, you're going to need private lessons if you want to be in this group, because we go quickly. We move very quickly. We're learning new pieces. I don't aim to teach the notes of the pieces to this group. This group needs to be able to learn the notes themselves. What we do in the rehearsals is we put it together. We have multiple parts. So I can't teach, let's say, 4 different parts. That's going to take forever. So they need to be able to do that on their own. We come together, we put it together and make the final product. And we're polishing all those techniques from the ground up. Those are the things that we're working on. Improving the sound, improving the intonation, let's play together, let's make sure that we're, you know, doing these dynamics. Those are the things this group is working on. Violin Virtuosi group is kind of the group right underneath that. So let's say that they're, you know, starting to play pieces, they know, you know, several pieces, they know how to play notes. Maybe their tone isn't like quite polished yet, or maybe their intonation isn't quite there, and we need to focus on that in this group. That's what this group is. More like book 1 pieces, more the pieces that we learned this year in the chamber ensemble. So those students that are now getting ready for that, this will still be a performing group. When we perform, we will include everyone. But it's just this group is focusing more on the book 1 pieces, and the other group is focusing more on the later pieces. Also, as far as the easier pieces go, the chamber musicians will always be learning different, easier pieces. They're not going to be the same ones. So next year, I will give you like a whole new repertoire list. And so we might keep our favorites. Like I asked the kids, what are your favorite pieces? And I got Cripple Creek, Star Spangled Banner. So those, of course, we'll keep. But as far as, you know, playing Go Talent Roadie every single year, we probably won't. We'll probably switch it up with some of the other pieces in the repertoire, and then we'll come back to it eventually in years later. The Suzuki Strings is going to stay on Monday, 3 to 3:30, but now the Monday group is going to be for the continuing students. So if you had like a kindergarten pre-K student, you know, playing on the E string, the Twinkle Variations this year, this is the group for them. And this is only going to be the continuing students, so you don't have to worry. There are no new students joining this. That's going to be on Thursdays. So Thursday classes are just strictly Suzuki Strings, with our 1st through 6th grade new beginners coming on Thursday afternoon at 3:30, and our pre-K and kinder beginners Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. So these are all the new students. Now let's say that, you know, you start on Thursday, you're a new student, and you go quickly and you're ready for Monday. That's fine. You can move right over to Monday. No problem. I didn't put it here, but I forgot to put the Thursday morning chamber group, which happens at 8:10 a.m. That is going to still happen with the additional practice on Monday. The reason why I have all the continuing students on Monday is because that way when they're ready for chamber, then they have 2 days a week. So they come on Monday, then they also come on Thursday, and that makes a huge difference having that second practice per week, so that even if they're not practicing a ton at home, maybe they practice once during the week, that's still 3 times per week. We also get them during their regular music class, and we do try to incorporate the instruments during their regular music classes when they can. So that's a 4th time per week that they're playing their instrument. So it's actually quite good. And then if you add a private lesson on top of it, oh, there's your 5th time. And you almost don't even have to practice on your own at all. So not that I don't encourage you to practice, I do. But some will struggle with that. And so this will be okay for those. I will admit, I did not practice as a kid. I just played in the orchestra, okay? Now I'm a music teacher. I got a doctorate degree in violin. I started taking lessons when I was 20. It can happen. I did have a very rich environment of music though, so it's probably like kind of a unique case. My sister is a soloist. She's a violin soloist. So I had, listening to her practice for 4 hours a day. That's almost as good as practicing yourself. Okay. Cello. So I hope that Rachel Kusaya is still going to be our cello teacher on Mondays. Probably Mondays because that's the day that she has available. However, I will get back to you on that for sure over the summer when she lets me know. The cello classes will probably be broken up into beginning and continuing, not by age. If we need to break it up by age or to move students around, then we will. But we don't have room for like 3 or 4 classes, and we actually don't have enough students for that. So that's how the cello classes will work. So just like the overall philosophy is that I want this school program to be for everybody. Anybody who wants to play an instrument will find a place here, because I think that the school, playing through your school, provides something that private lessons, an outside orchestra, anything that you do outside is so different than doing something through your school. It is so special to belong to the musical community at your school, because these are friends they're hanging out with every single day. And they will travel together through 12th grade, and they will remain friends, you'll see. And it's usually a really good group of kids that are dedicated and really are focused, not only in music, but usually in academics too. So being a part of this school group, I feel is very important, and that's why I want to create this for you all. Even if they're not so serious, being a part of it means a lot to them. So, for example, we have all different level players. So you can come in as beginner, you can come in at book 10, we will make a part for you. Right now, our group is really like all kind of the same level. I mean, we have our beginners, and we have our kind of advanced beginners, but everyone's kind of still beginners. When we look at the whole picture of, let's say, from beginner to advanced, let's say that advanced is, past book 10, we're all down here, and so you may think, oh, like my child is getting really advanced, and you're right, they are getting really advanced. However, they're just a little bit ahead of the previous students. They're just a tiny bit. And that can switch. Your child may, like, you might see other children like surpass or whatever. Nobody's surpassing anybody. It really is not, that's not, that stuff doesn't matter in the end, like which piece you're on. What matters in the end is the music, like how nicely can you play Twinkle? Like, I could judge somebody's violin playing just based on Twinkle, like the easiest piece ever, but I could tell you if they're like a professional versus a beginner, because it sounds really different. So, hello, Mr. P. Thank you for coming. Anyways, this is Mr. P. So yes, So we are basically right at the beginning, but we are ready to take you up and up and up each year, okay, at the pace that everyone goes. We will go with the children. We're trying to push them a little bit, but we're not, we just go with them, with their flow. So when we have recitals, the way it works is what you saw, right? Everyone starts with the advanced piece, and then as you know it, you get onto the stage. That really works wonders, because hopefully you've seen after that recital, your kids are really motivated. They're like, I want to play this piece, I want to play that piece, I want to play this piece. And they might be trying to figure it out. If they have the skills to do that, they might be figuring it out. And that is the motivation of these recitals. As we revisit the review pieces every time, we're adding things like vibrato. That's where we're adding the hand going back and forth. The pitch changes a little bit, but makes it sound really nice. We're adding shifting, where you're not just staying down here, but you're shifting up the fingerboard. And on string instruments, you can actually play a note like many different ways, in different positions. So as we grow, the range of pieces is just going to grow bigger. That's okay. We're just going to keep adding those pieces. We're going to add a range of repertoire: Suzuki, pop, fiddle, orchestra, jazz, mariachi. We're going to change it up so that it makes it fun for your children. And I think I've touched upon pretty much all of those points. And before we go into questions, I just wanted to tell you the stages of learning a piece. So basically, your child will learn the notes. That's the very first step. And a lot of people think this is the end step. I know the notes, I know the piece. That's what the kids will think. They know the piece, right? But they're far from like the last step of knowing this piece. So then, once they learn the notes, they're focused on making a good sound with the bow, getting the pitch and tune with their left hand. They're practicing it by themselves, and they think, okay, now I can fluidly play this piece with no mistakes. I can get from the beginning to the end, and I don't forget the notes. Then they can memorize the piece. Don't need to use the music or the fingerings. Then they play it with the group. The group is actually kind of a later stage, because you have to be able to play with a group of people and blend with them, and make sure if you make a mistake that you can catch them in the middle of the piece. That's not so easy. We think, oh, it's so easy to play in the group. That's actually a much later stage, to be able to play in this group, any piece. Then they're continually refining the piece. Every day it's getting more in tune. The tone is improving. They're adding more dynamics. They're adding more expression. Then they perform the piece. But that's really actually only the first step too, because once they move on to the next piece, we come back to this piece and we continually refine. Maybe next year they add the vibrato. Maybe the next year their tone is much better. Maybe the next year they can add the shifting. So once they've performed it 100 times, maybe it's like more in its final stage. Okay, so just some thoughts. We have summer lessons available with Mr. P. If you'd like to sign up for that, you can let me know today and we'll write your name down, because today is the day I'm making the schedule. Okay, so he's teaching on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on campus in the reading specialist room, and he can get your child from camp and bring them to the room without you being here if you want that. If you are going to be here and you want to stay in the lesson, that's also great. You can come and bring them yourself. So we'll arrange that for you on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I live in Woodland Hills. If you want lessons with me over the summer, you can come to my studio. I just know that most of you all live around here. So we will have that option on campus. We have Rachel Kusaya. She's in, Sherman Oaks. And so she's our cello teacher. So if you're a cellist, then you can talk to her. Mr. P also could teach the cello if you prefer on campus. And then we also have Keanu, Dana's daughter, has said that she's our most advanced cellist. She's the 6th grader going to 7th grade. She has said that if there's an older student, then she can work with them a little bit too and give them some lessons. So we have those options For lessons, I would say that the summer is really important. Like, you don't really want to take the summer off if you can help it. If you do, we'll get those kids back playing in the fall. But if you can, at least take some lessons, because that will keep them playing. And you will be surprised how much progress can happen in the summer. So if your child takes off in the summer, then maybe their friends who have taken lessons are now going to be in a different group, which, you know, you want to kind of keep them moving at the same pace if possible. Rental versus purchase of instruments. I know that a lot of you have rented. If you want to continue renting, he'll just keep charging you on your credit card by the month. I think it's like $25 per month for violins. And you could do that indefinitely. However, at some point you will have purchased that instrument. So they do offer buyouts, like you can, you know, buy it if you have decided, like, I want to commit to this. You can buy it, and then you can trade in your instrument for, I think, $100 for the next size. So you're just paying $100 trade-in rather than $25 per month every month, which will get actually more expensive in the end rather than just purchasing it. So if you want to talk to me about what you would like to do with the instrument, then I can go ahead and tell Charles, and he can write that down in books. If you need to return your instrument for any reason, you need to get that to me by next week's class. The last class will be June 5th, Monday. So we will return the instruments then, because we have to get everything out of the room. So if you contact me after school is out, you'll probably end up having to go drop it off yourself. So if you want me to take care of it, just drop it off on Monday. And then how to find a private teacher who is qualified. The best way is just come talk to me, because I know most teachers. If you can take with one of us, it's better, just because we know what your child is doing in the group, and then we are supportive of helping with those with that. But if you would like to find somebody closer to your house, just let me know. Why do you need both private and groups? I mean, you don't really need it, like I said. However, it's much more efficient, because during the private lesson, that's when you're really getting taught the technique. In the groups, I really do teach some technique, because I have to. Like, we don't have a lot of students taking private lessons right now. So I do try to teach the technique, but teaching a technique to 25 students where I can't be hands-on, I actually do try to be hands-on. We go and we're a little bit hands-on, but you're getting that 10 seconds of hands-on versus a whole 30 minutes of hands-on, where they need to be feeling what that motion is. And like, if I'm teaching vibrato, I have my hand on that child's hand for 30 minutes, and I'm moving it in the right way. So that's going to be a lot better than me just explaining with words and demonstrating, and you getting that 10 seconds of feeling. Private lessons really do make a difference. So now I will just take any questions. If you have any questions about anything. I covered it all?
Yeah.
Yes?
What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin?
That's a good question. There's really not much difference between a fiddle and a violin. So, like, when we do our fiddle pieces, like Cripple Creek, then maybe you would say, like, I'm playing a fiddle piece, right? So it's not really much difference. It's just the type of repertoire you're playing on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bluegrass.
Bluegrass, yeah, there we go. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
How do I know if I should keep Nathan in the beginning cello, or
I'll
because
talk
the
to
cellos feel like
the cellos are a little different, yeah.
Yeah.
So and also, like, the age thing is also a factor. So we're just gonna have to play that by ear. Like, we'll ask Rachel about that, and it really depends on who we have. Like, you know, who in first grade is gonna come in, because we might be able to get them really, you know, quickly, like, you know, playing the same level, and then it might be better for him to move along with those first graders, because the social is a huge deal. So we'll talk about that. But if you have any questions about which group your child should be in, you can talk to me. I have an idea of where everyone should go at this moment, but the thing is that things change over the summer, and it really just depends on where everyone is when they come back. And that's not to say if I put your child in one group for the beginning, that you can't just change into the next group a week later. That's why I put all of the returning students on Mondays, is because if we do need to change them, we can just change them immediately, and you don't have to come a different day. So I don't see any problems with the groupings. And then usually what we've been trying to do, like we've had actually 5 teachers, and we've had 5 rooms going at the same time. And I do try to give your child a balance of first being a leader, and then being, maybe pushed a little bit, and like I rotate them around. I don't keep them in the same groups every time. Towards the end, I might try to focus on what songs they know, but in the beginning, I'm rotating them around to get different experiences, be with different friends, be with different teachers, so that whatever ends up motivating them, they have that experience. Yes?
Cameron was wondering if there's a summer concert.
There is no summer concert, but there are concerts and like things to do all the time. So if you're interested in doing more, both Mr. P and I are members of like the Suzuki Association and MTAC, and they have things going on all the time. There are things like Suzuki graduation that happen even after the Twinkles, that you can record yourself and you can submit it, and then you can go to Colburn School and play with all of the Twinkle graduates. And then they have it again at the end of book 1, Gothic Gavat, and they have it all the way through book 10. MTAC has Certificate of Merit, so that's like another thing that you can do. That incorporates theory and sight reading and scales and technique, and it's a little bit more involved. But that's an option as well. So if you need more, then we always have more. Like you can always come and we can give you more. Also, there are outside orchestras like CSUN Youth Orchestra, there's CBYO, Conejo Valley Youth Orchestra, there's Leo, Los Angeles Youth Orchestra, there's Glendale Youth Orchestra, and so just at whatever level you're at, if you want something on the weekend, you're really into it, you need another extra day, then we can also help you with that. So, yeah. Anything else?
For the, you said you're gonna like switch it up a little bit and do like the opera mariachi.
Yeah.
Are those aren't in the Suzuki books though, right?
They're not.
Okay.
So we don't stick completely with the Suzuki books. Yeah, but it's kind of the method. The method is more by ear approach first, and like a very encouraging approach, and really like get comfortable with the instrument. So even if we're doing other repertoire, it's still kind of with that approach in mind. And we make up arrangements. I mean, Mr. P made up a few arrangements, and I look through all the books and try to pick the best arrangements that I can that the kids will love.
What time is your lesson at the Woodland Hills?
So for June, I'm teaching Mondays and Wednesdays,
Uh-huh.
and so I'll be making my schedule like today too. So if you want to get in that schedule,
What
you
time? Like later?
can. I teach all day.
Okay, you do. Okay.
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Sundays
Okay.
in Woodland Hills. Yeah,
Monday, Wednesday, Sunday.
Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, all day. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that like when they're practicing, you guys tune by ear, obviously,
Yeah.
as a group.
Right.
And they're probably getting newer kids probably a little bit difficult to tune by ear. When they're home alone, are there some of those apps you can get on your phone to tune
Yes,
your
thank you
violin?
for asking. So if you would like to tune, like learn how to tune your child's instrument, you can download a tuning app. So what I'll do is I'll send a link for the best tuning app that I would recommend, and then you can just watch. There are tons of YouTube videos on this, but basically you play the notes and then you look, and then the pointer basically goes this way or this way, and if it's this way it's too sharp, and if it's this way, well, if it's this way it's too sharp, and if it's this way it's too flat, and so you could do the fine tuning
Okay.
on that. Yeah.
Alright.
Anybody else? No? Okay. If anything comes up, you can always text me. And that goes during the year too. Like you can always reach out, and no question is, like just ask all questions, because it's better just to get everything answered. And even if you have problems, there are going to be problems. Your child is going to want to quit at some point. It's going to happen to every single child. I promise you. And when that happens, come to me, because just because they want to quit doesn't mean that you should quit. Sometimes you should, but most of the time you shouldn't. So just let me know if I can help you in that way, and we'll work through it. See you later.
Thank you very much. This is very informative. Thank you.
No problem.